How to segment your audience for more impactful video marketing.
Let's get into it.
Video Mavericks, the small business video marketing podcast. Presented by Workshop Media. With your hosts, Brett and Jeff, sharing a combined 40 years of video production and marketing experience. Take it away.
Generally speaking, trying to speak to everybody probably means that you're not speaking to anyone effectively. And that's the primary topic of what we're talking about today. It is understanding your audience, understanding what motivates them, and ultimately catering your message to them so that you resonate and drive them to whatever action you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. You can make content endlessly, right? So what might force somebody to think that they only get one shot at video and they can only make one video? To say, I need this content to speak to everyone. Well, we do want some new candidates to interview. We do want some more volunteers for our organization. We do want to get new customers. Let's make this one video speak to all of them. You know, there's something that it's a false belief, right? That you have one shot at this. Make video for each one of those audiences.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean, and we've talked about this in other episodes, that doesn't mean that you have to come up with endless new concepts and start from scratch every single time. There's a nuance to catering messaging. It could be something all the way down to just a line or two in the piece of content that will speak more directly to an audience. And, you know, the whole point there is if people feel like you're speaking to them directly and they feel heard, they'll be more likely to, number one, stick around and pay attention. And number two, you know, take the action because it directly relates to them. And, you know, to your point, if you're trying to recruit people, but the video that you're showing is how to engage with the product, that, you know, maybe someone will say, I really like the way they talk about their product, and in a roundabout way end up in the recruitment track. But more than likely, they're not going to know that you're recruiting. And so, you know, you might pick up some folks by accident, but there's far more effective ways to think about engaging with your audience.
Audience segmentation is what we're talking about here. Yep. So what is audience segmentation?
Audience segmentation at a very basic level is separating your audience and speaking to them directly. It's understanding that depending on who you're speaking to, there's going to be a different message. So understanding how those groups are separated and what ultimately is important for them is audience segmentation.
Your brand or your business has more than one audience, always, right? And that's sometimes we run into that. Well, let's break that down for the client.
Yep.
You may have multiple customer types. You may have multiple verticals inside of your business that you sell to, and you have the staff, customer, investor or board, volunteers, donors. You can have anybody that interacts with your business and you want to drive action with them fits into a specific segmented audience.
Which is a really good place to start with the concept of the danger of generic messaging. And we touched on it a little bit, but if you're lacking a focus, to use your example of an investor, if you're speaking to an investor and you're not appealing to them with the things that are going to matter to them to try to drive them to action to raise funds or to do whatever the thing is that you need them to do to advocate for you on a greater scale or whatever it may be, they may not feel heard. They may not feel recognized. They may not know what it is that you're asking them to do. If you're doing a fundraising effort and you're asking for a direct action, conversely, the customer that might be your internal staff, your audience that's your internal staff, that message doesn't resonate with them. Wait, you're asking me to give money? You're asking me to, wait a second, I work here.
And their time is valuable. Yeah. All of these segments, all of their time is valuable. Wasting it trying to do this mass messaging approach is already setting you up for failure. Now, I think there's something to be said about using storytelling from an awareness standpoint.
I was just going to go there. I'm glad you did.
That can speak to all of them in a way.
Yep.
And it's the call to action might be a little more loose.
Or it's a just, here's who we are. We're being authentically ourselves. Believe us, understand us, see us from where we are.
Yeah. Build the foundation, right? Use that to build your foundation to launch content out of it.
Yeah.
But don't waste the time. You're very limited attention spans. Let's get straight to the point, right? Hook, story, and offer with these very strategically positioned audiences that you want to deliver your messaging to.
Yep. And I think it's particularly important when we're thinking about social media as a platform for video, because of a lack of attention spans, because of this constant onslaught of new content. If you don't appeal to someone and speak to them directly immediately, you're probably not going to keep them around and very likely not drive them to any action.
Yeah.
To your point with the brand story thing, that's a little different. That is the awareness side. But even then, if it's a social media implementation of a brand story, it can still be catered. And very likely do a little better for you than it would if it's just put out there on its own. So,
yep. And if you're lacking specificity in your messaging, right, you're maybe talking a little too much about yourself and your product or service or whatever that may be, you're missing an opportunity to be hyper focused on connecting with the specific audience and what you want them to do. If you're being too general and you're not really targeting what you want them to take away and what you want them to do, again, setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, a great example of that might be like a fitness studio that's pushing, hey, we help everyone get healthy. We help everyone get fit. Well,
how would you make that better?
It might be more efficient or more effective for them to consider who are they specifically trying to recruit into their business with a particular video. Let's say, for example, it is busy moms.
And so what are their pain points?
That message in that case is going to be that they are busy, they're lacking time, they want to take time for themselves, and they want to feel better. And so it might be something that's more like, we help busy moms regain their energy. We help busy moms regain their confidence, and it's only going to take 30 minutes. And it could be any number of specific audiences, but in that particular case, you're speaking directly to the person that you're trying to recruit,
right?
And appealing to the thing that is the pain point for them. So rather than we help everyone get fit, it's we help busy moms regain their time and cater our programs to the things that they care about most, in whatever level of specificity makes sense.
So this is actually about being a little bit more focused on the messaging you're delivering. You notice in this example that you're not talking about raising money. You're not talking about purchasing this supplement. You're not trying to recruit new employees.
Right.
It's hyper focused to this specific audience, and then the messaging is tailored to their desire, their pain point, and how you're solving it.
Yep.
You can't do that by talking to everybody.
What's interesting is once that in this case, busy mom is a customer of the fitness studio, you might sell the protein shake or the supplement or whatever the thing is that you have in the store. But you sell to them as a current customer.
And you laid the groundwork first.
You're now selling the convenience of it's here already. You're selling, we have the protein shake. We have to also have the bottles, and we can mix it for you when you come in the door, and it's waiting for you when you get here. That's the same person, but you're catering to them as they've shifted. Now they're not just a busy mom. They're a busy mom that's a customer. That's another target. There's another target audience. Same person, as they move through their journey with your business, your message still needs to evolve to continue to reach them, because it's not going to, in that example, it's not going to resonate with them in the same way once they've already chosen your business to become a customer. You're no longer speaking to them. They're the same person that they were, but you're not talking to them anymore because they've already picked you. You've already solved that first problem that you presented.
Your messaging will change and evolve with them in their journey, right? That's what you're saying.
Yep.
So I guess what we're saying, the impact here is that vagueness, if that is a real word.
I like it. Let's
vagueness.
Go with it. Vagueness.
Being vague it's going to kill your engagement. That's what we're saying here.
Yeah.
And being specific is going to help you build that trust. Is that's what we're doing with marketing, right?
Yep.
We're ultimately bringing you in. So being specific is going to help that.
Yep.
And being vague is a waste of your time and money.
That's exactly it.
Ultimately. All right, so let's identify and segment some audiences.
Yeah, so
how do you do it?
Yeah, how do we break down? So a very basic one we kind of just touched on a little bit with that fitness example would be demographics. Mm-hmm. So this is your target audience, their age, their location, gender, if that's applicable to the specific industry that you're in.
Yep.
Just who is the person in the most avatar way, right? Who are they?
You're not saying like Avatar the movie.
No, they're not blue.
I mean, they could.
It might be blue.
It's really dependent upon your buyer persona. Right? No. So yeah, demographics. That's the first one. That's an easy one. Yes. Also, psychographics. Their beliefs, their values, their pain points. How do they spend money? That kind of stuff is important. And then where are they in that journey?
Yeah, so that goes back to are they a customer yet? Mm-hmm. Do they know that you exist?
Whereabouts are you going to start trying to convert them?
Are they in the decision-making process where now they've decided they want to join a gym?
Yep.
And they know that your gym exists and they're comparing you against the gym across the street. Mm-hmm. Now they're in a different phase of their journey. So
this is how this is it though. This is how you do it. And you should be able to do this with your business, right? You should automatically be able to go, well, what's the type of person that frequents my store, that asks me questions, that buys from our company? What's the type of person that we need to work here? Yeah. Is it a high school diploma? Right. Is it somebody that has experience overseas? Like whatever it is, you should already have that information. If you don't, you should probably pump the brakes on video marketing, and you should
understand your customer.
Understand who your audiences are for your business.
Which is, it's very likely that if you've never considered this question before and you're hearing it right now for the first time, that you're already drawing the picture in your head of who your customer is. And the more that you hyper target to your customer, the better off you're going to be. And so when we're thinking about this, identifying your ideal audience, we are going back to the avatar thing. We're creating the avatar of what your customer is, and they may not. It's not going to be one. To your to your point earlier, you're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5, however many it is, and that's okay.
Yep,
it's perfectly fine to have 5 different avatars.
It should all be strategically aligned to your business goals. What are you trying to do, and then understand what that audience is.
Yes.
Right.
You can't appeal to someone. You can't appeal to someone that you don't see or understand.
Yep.
Or at least make an attempt at understanding their motivations.
Some of our goals would be, to increase sales by this much over this amount of time, and then another goal might be to recruit 10% top talent from wherever, and then another goal might be whatever it is, right?
Yes.
So those different goals would automatically indicate that you have different people you need to speak to, which then would sort of dictate the type of messaging and the type of content, and it's going like this now. It all is going to come out of that brand story, that foundation of your mission, vision, values, why you exist, but then your messaging can kind of skew a little bit. So you're really speaking to these audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that. The brand story is still paramount. So we, in a lot of these podcasts and in our work, our daily work, we talk about being genuine, being authentic, having your story at the center of everything. When we're talking about this audience segmentation and catering your messaging, we're not saying be somebody that you're not, be a different version of your brand for different people. Mm-hmm. We're saying that you're taking this big umbrella concept that is your brand story and refining it for people, not rewriting it for people. You're just making sure that it's reaching the right person by the way that you're considering the thing. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to reach someone and your brand story is not fitting, it may be because that's not the right audience for you. Maybe that's a way to discover, I'm not going to reach that customer because that's not part of my story. If you have the fitness studio that's catering towards busy moms and you're really struggling with how to reach bodybuilders, I can't break through. Well, yeah, obviously they've already chosen their gym. Fitness is their lifestyle. They're doing a whole different thing. Just because you have weights at your gym and they have weights at theirs, that doesn't mean it's the same audience. And
it could be that those are two audiences that you have, and that busy mom may transition into a different audience category.
Right.
And you're no longer speaking. You've helped her.
Right.
You've helped make her life easier. You've prepared that protein shake when she shows up and she's got the cool stuff with the logo on it. You've made it that much easier for her to get her workout in. She's evolved.
Right.
She's now in the bodybuilder category, and your messaging is going to need to be tailored that way now.
That's right.
And that's really cool. What's another example? What's another, just off the top? What's another example?
I mean, we've used the example of a bakery before. If you're a local organic bakery and you're trying to appeal to people who have great value in locally sourced organic things, then that message needs to be hyper targeted to people who value those things.
Yep.
And, I think, and that list goes on and on. I mean, I guess we could apply it to something that's not such a small town, warm feeling.
So what about a landscaping company that has residential clients and has commercial clients?
Oh man,
those are different budgets. They're different.
They care about different things. A commercial client in that particular case is going to care that you're capable of quantity at scale. They're going to care that you're capable of dealing with an accounting department. They're going to care that you show up without needing a phone call. They're going to rely on you to just take care of things without them having to micromanage a thing.
You're going to mind the customers that are coming and going. You're going to deliver quality. You're going to protect the property.
Yep.
Some of those things, the values in between there might align, but you don't want to speak to residential customers with your commercial content.
If I were a residential customer being served content with a commercial bent, I would immediately think they're too big, they're too complicated, they're too expensive,
or we're too small for
I just have a 1/4 acre and it's just grass and I need them to cut the grass and blow the leaves and that's it. But they also do hedges over there and they're doing, these huge installations. This is not a fit for me. Yep. That's a mismatch. You're speaking to the wrong people.
If you, as that landscaping business, do offer those services, then do offer them and offer your content to them, right? And keep it separate. And then you may need to make content for recruiting to build your staff. You've now grown to a point, you need new content, and something really nice is that if you do have these segmented audiences and you have content that is speaking specifically to them, you can pull from that content and repurpose to increase your ROI. Different topic, but it all fits.
It all fits. Oh, and I did want to quickly touch on part of this audience segmentation is understanding where the audience is. We go into this in great detail in other episodes. Platforms matter. Yep. Your commercial client, you may not be reaching them on Instagram in the same way that you would be reaching a residential customer. Could be vice versa. But understanding not only who your audience is, what motivates them, but also understanding where they spend their time online and then considering that when you create the content so that it works on those platforms.
So format accordingly.
And runtime and, kind of fitting with the brand of those different platforms. So, but there's that content's out there in other podcasts if you want to go into detail on platforms.
Cool. I think we covered it.
Yeah.
So before you make your content, just how many times it's like
who are you talking to?
T-shirt. Yeah, strategy first, right? So before you hit record, just stop for a second. Who am I speaking to? What do I need them to say? What do they need today? How can I solve their problem in the world? And just be specific. Be authentically you and be specific to the people you're speaking to.
So that's it. Basically, the more focused your message is, the louder it's going to land. You speak to fewer people and speak to them more specifically, more directly, more deeply, you're going to have a better shot at cutting through the noise and actually reaching them where they are and appealing to them.
All right, so make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell on YouTube. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We drop episodes weekly to help small business owners and business leaders use video marketing to grow and scale their operations.